for every power scaler or person who's a fan of just, you know, debating and stuff, I'm sure you've heard of Versus Battle Wiki. I mean, how could you not? Everyone knows who they are, and at least within this community, people know who Versus Battle Wiki is. One of the biggest, if not the biggest, power scaling and indexing wikis we've ever had. However, they have a server called Versus Central, and I've actually went there to see what things is all up about. And let me just say that it's probably one of the worst servers I've ever been in my life. And I'm really being serious when I say that. When I first entered there, I got hit with a wave of stupidity and a wave of secondhand IQ degeneracy. I'm really not exaggerating when I say that. But I'm not here to talk about the server, well, too much. But I'm mostly here to talk about Versus Battle Wiki and the many things about them, such as their dishonesty, their hypocritical nature, and their elitism. All of which just, you know, one of the reasons why I do not like Versus Battle Wiki. I've already made videos on why I do not like Versus Battle Wiki personally, but, you know, since Versus Battle Wiki wants to pull its other stuff on other wikis and stuff, and since they want to be dishonest and just borderline hypocritical, not even borderline, just pretty much hypocritical as it is, then fine. You know what? I'm gonna make a video about it since, you know, since they want my attention so much. All right. But before we do that, let me just start on to the first thing. Versus Battle Wiki is not original. I'm sure you guys probably already knew this, but Versus Battle Wiki is not original. They're literally, they're just like a stepsister of anime character fights, and even then, even before that, they're just derivatives of Omniversal Battle Dome. So either way, they're not original, and the reason why I'm mentioning that is because it kind of plays into the elitism that I'm talking about. Versus Battle Wiki seems to have this notion that just because they're the most popular, they're like the most original, which they're not. They're objectively just not original in what they did. Anime characters fight, I've already done most of the stuff that they did, and hell, they had the whole Outerversal stuff way before Versus Battle Wiki did, and that likes. And you wanna know what else is funny about it? Versus Battle Wiki has the nerve to call other wikis and stuff, other wikis who are made by other people who either want liberty, freedom in what they do, or some other stuff. They literally call them mock Versus Battle Wikis or clones. Okay, so by your shitty logic, and that means your wiki, referring to Versus Battle Wiki as a collective, that means your wiki is a mock within itself, a mock of a mock. So either way, you cannot talk about other people's wikis and all that stuff. Some people do it just because of the fact that they want their own liberties and stuff. They don't do it just because they hate Versus Battle Wikis. I'll get into that much later, but point is, Versus Battle Wiki is not original, but yet they seem to have this misconceived notion that they are, and all that stuff. I don't know whether it's just arrogance or just the fact that they can't handle the fact that they're not the first to do what they are. But, you know, I'm gonna just bring that up right now. But yeah, now that I pretty much got that out the way, let's move on to the main stuff. In Versus Central, there were many things said about my Wikia, and not even just my Wikia, but other wikis in general. And a lot of it just bordered on assumptions that have no basis to it, or just basically brutal dishonesty. A lot of it going on just basically brutal dishonesty, which is I will show here. There were a lot of things said about my wiki and others, such as how they're, this wiki was created out of a disagreement with Versus Battle Wiki and yada yada, basically assumptions and shit like that. A lot of people, let me just tell you right off the bat, that a lot of people, myself included, make their own wikis just because they want their own liberties and they want their own freedom. It has nothing to do with Versus Battle Wiki and disagreements, or at least for a good majority of the time. So the fact that they try to chalk up other wikis existing as, oh, people don't agree with Versus Battle Wiki, this is so ignorant and so stupid that I don't even understand why they would make such an assumption like that, and such a rude statement, because it's just objectively not true. But let me just get into some of the stuff that was said about my wiki, because the reason I'm addressing my wiki is because, well, it kind of paints a broad picture about what other wikis also have to go through as well when Versus Battle Wiki sees them, or you know, that stuff. But anyways, let me just talk about some of my wiki and some stuff that was said up against me as a person. So one thing that's said about my wiki was the fact that it was made out of spite to Versus Battle Wiki, which is just wrong. Let me tell you this outright. Back when I made back when I made Omniversal Battlefield, I literally made it out of the fact that I just wanted liberties. I just wanted to do my own thing, you know, separate of Versus Battle Wiki. It has nothing to do with the fact that I dislike Versus Battle Wiki, which I didn't even do at the time. Actually, at the time, I did the opposite of what I'm doing now. I defended Versus Battle Wiki, mostly because of the fact that, well, I liked what they did. They had a pretty cool, they had some unique people, some good stuff, but, you know, as of now and as of late, things have changed about that. The attitude is starting to become a lot toxic. People are just brutally dishonest and rude, and etc, etc, stuff that I've already touched upon before. But yeah, I never made the wiki out of spite, and people who make that claim are just disingenuous and don't understand a damn thing about people wanting their own liberties and stuff like that. So when I see people make that claim, I already know they're just ignorant and probably just jerking off Versus Battle Wiki's dick. Now let's move on to the second thing that was said about me, which was, oh, Super Neo, he hates Versus Battle Wiki. If you told me that now, yeah, of course, I dislike Versus Battle Wiki, fuck Versus Battle Wiki. But if you would have asked me that back then when I made Omniversal Battlefield, no, I like Versus Battle Wiki, and I didn't even see them as a competition, because they're not. I just saw them as another coexisting Wikia, because that's what they are. No Wikia is better than the other. They're just different in different, they're just different in different fields and all that stuff, and different things, you know? Character stats, they have good visuals and all that stuff. I may not agree with every person who makes pages on there, but they have some good stuff. Versus Battle Wiki themselves, they're good with other stuff. They're good with moderation. Well, kinda. I've kind of touched on that before. It's kind of gone to shit, but back then it was actually pretty good. Some of the best moderation on an indexing site, and etc, etc. And you know, a lot of wikis have different things that they're good at and all that stuff. So just trying to chalk up as one better than the other, especially on the basis that Versus Battle Wiki came first, is a stupid idea. So, but going on the track, they basically made the claim that I dislike Versus Battle Wiki, and I did at the time, which was just false, and I've already explained why. Actually, matter of fact, if I can find it, I made a post of explaining why Versus Battle Wiki is alright at the time. But, you know, according to them, if I oppose them, I apparently just hate them, which is stupid, you know? And then here's another case that I gotta talk about. There was this one person called Shring, or King Shring, whatever, I don't know what his fucking name is. But he made this claim that I banned him from my server just because I had a disagreement with him on 1A Pennywise. I've already made it clear I don't agree with 1A Pennywise, by the way, but he made the claim that I banned him just because of disagreement. No, that's also dishonest, because I literally banned him just because of the fact he came at me for disagreeing with him. He made the claim that I was a fake fan or something like that, or basically that I don't know Dark Tower, even though I've put on record and even shown that Dark Tower is one of my favorite, not even one of my favorite book series of all time. I love Stephen King, and I love it. I love Tommyknockers. I love a lot of his novels, you know? So the fact that I see him come at me for my knowledge on Dark Tower, which I know off the back of my hand, the fact I see him come at me after that, it's just so stupid. And the fact that he tries to spread this lie that I banned him for that small reason is so stupid, you know? And, you know, as I'll show here, here's exactly what I'm talking about right here. It's just dishonest, as I've shown, because what I'm showing right here shows the complete opposite of what he's talking about. So in conclusion, Versus Battle Wiki likes to talk out of their ass a lot of times, and it's gotten to the point where it's really hard to ignore. And a lot of these other wikis that have to do stuff like a debate jungle, character stats, and even my wiki, we have to do stuff with the stigma that we're just copies and all that stuff, even though a lot of what we're doing is just stuff that we want to do on our own. We don't want to be better than Versus Battle Wiki or anything like that. We just want to do our own things and coexist alongside Versus Battle Wiki. But they want to act like the British Parliament and just, you know, apparently make the claim that everyone is a copy off of them or everyone hates them and all that shit. So either way, Versus Battle Wiki's at fault here. But, you know, I'm gonna just keep going on, since, you know, there's a lot more I can talk about when it comes to this. But yeah, pretty much I'll just go on to the next section. So we move on to my final point, which is Versus Battle Wikis within themselves, they're hypocrites. Not only are they hypocrites, they are huge hypocrites. If you want an example, let's go on to the fact that they claim that Omniversal Battlefield is nothing more than a copy and paste of Versus Battle Wiki, basically saying that our wiki, my wiki copy paste Versus Battle Wiki, which, you know what? Granted, when it first started, I'm not gonna deny, at the time that was an issue that Omniversal Battlefield was going through, and really, it was kind of a hard thing to go against since it was kind of a mass scale. But you know what's funny about it? After a while, it pretty much became a non-existent issue. It happens from time to time, yeah, but now I cracked down on it so much that it's not an issue anymore. So copy and pasting and shit, it's not an issue, but that's not the point. Now, the reason why I'm bringing up the copy paste accusation against my wiki is because of the fact that, you know, Versus Battle Wiki themselves, they actually do the same thing. There's a lot of stuff that Versus Battle Wiki themselves, not just copy and paste, but copies as well, and in their own logic are copying themselves. If you want the most blatant example, one of the things that they copied from, which was ironically enough from my Wikia, one of the things that they copied was my Unicron page. If you've seen it, like, now, if you look at it, it's been kind of altered. But if you look at it when it first was made, you will see that it's exactly, almost exactly like how the page that I made, it with little to no differences whatsoever. And you know what's funny? Versus Battle Wiki didn't do anything about it. They kept it on the wiki and just turned a blind eye. Blatant hypocrisy right there. That's just one minor example. About that too, there's several other pages as well that's been copy and pasted from other places, and they've accepted or just didn't do anything about because either they were too lazy and they're sleeping on their asses, or they just don't want to acknowledge their own fault. But let's go on to the biggest act of hypocrisy, which is the fact that Versus Battle Wiki within themselves were just a copy and paste, like existentially speaking. Their whole tiering system, which was canter tiering, they didn't even create themselves. Some tribunal dude, I think that was his name, I don't know, tribunal something, I don't know. Point is, they got canter tiering from somewhere else and they applied it to their Wikia. They're not even the first Wikia to apply canter tiering either, or dimensional tiering as it's called. Anime character fights already had that shit, so you know what? They copy and paste that shit to them, just because anime character fights is a sister wiki. But it doesn't change the fact that they copied all that shit. So, I mean, they can talk about how other wikis copy and paste shit, especially mine, but they're copy and pasting within themselves, and they're just getting away with it just because they're huge wikis and stuff. And you know, there's a lot of other things of hypocrisy as well. Even within their own community, there's hypocrisy. Such as one thing that I pointed in one of my older videos is hypocrisy on what's accepted. Let's, for example, a mod could do, I'm not a mod, but you know, a regular user, right? A regular user could propose something on that Wikia, propose some revisions, right? And they won't go through either because they're not detailed or they didn't come from a mod. Yet someone who's well respected or considered a expert in quotations can do it, such as with Archie Sonic's upgrades and all that stuff. An expert can do that, and it'll certainly go through, even though it's the same reasoning. Odd. Isn't that not odd when I think about it? But overall, there's a lot of hypocritical shit that Versus Battle Wiki does that they don't want to acknowledge, and they want to act superior to other places and stuff. But yeah, I wanted to keep this point short because it's really it's kind of just a byproduct of my first point, which is Versus Battle Wiki is dishonest. But yeah, I'm gonna just keep this point short and move on to the finishing touches of this video. Before I end this video, I would like to say one thing. I don't hate everyone from Versus Battle Wiki, and what I say here doesn't apply to, well, every single person from Versus Battle Wiki, because some people here don't even take part in what's happening. Hell, some people here either has said what I've said before, or disagree with some of the stuff that Versus Battle Wiki is doing themselves, yet are still part of it. So, what I'm saying here doesn't apply to every single person, and not to mention, it would be pretty foolish since there are people from Versus Battle Wiki that I like, such as Weekly, Dark Dragon Midius, Cal, etc, etc, etc. Really, this just only applies to either the people who I just genuinely dislike, or just, you know, generally the wiki itself, as when they're basically doing a collective effort, you know. So like I said, not everyone is in the crosshairs when I say this, you know. But yeah, either way, I made this video mostly because of the fact that Versus Battle Wiki themselves seems to be the only people who think that really they're the best thing around, when they're really not. There's no such thing as a best Wikia. And not only is the fact that just because of the fact that scaling is subjective in itself, but it just comes down to the fact that wikis are good at different things and allow for different things, you know. So the fact that there's a good wiki or a bad wiki out there is preposterous, at least in terms of power scaling. There can be a bad wiki in terms of how they handle things with moderation and stuff, but in terms of power scaling, there's no such thing as a good wiki or a bad wiki, you know? Either way, I would like to just end this video off by saying, that's all folks, Super Neo, peace the fuck out. Yeah, I'm just gonna await the lynch mob that's coming for me, maybe, I don't know. Probably people will generally agree with my consensus, it doesn't matter, because I don't care, I'm already used to it. Either way, that's all folks, thanks for watching, and I see you, I don't know, whenever, fuck it, it's quarantine, and I'm fucking tired. See ya.